Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. Today is Monday, September 19th, a Metal Monday. And this episode is brought to you, speaking of metal, by my fantastic motorcycle sponsor, El Cajon Harley. Get yourself a metal machine. Metal machine. El Cajon Harley, the best Harley dealer in the United States. Yes, I am kind of biased because they are super cool to sponsor this podcast. What are you doing? Get your motorcycle from them and no one else. Call them. Email them. Go to their Instagram. Check out their Facebook. Get yourself a brand new 2017 Harley Davidson with the incredible Milwaukee 8 motor. Also, don't forget, we're going to have a little bike night down at La Jolla Comedy Store. And that's going to be a good time. La Jolla Comedy Store, El Cajon Harley, and myself all together doing comedy and, talking some motorcycles. That's going to be awesome. And that is on, what's the date on that? Let me get that here. October. Is it October? Shit, I can't ever remember. God, I suck on the intros. I don't remember when it is, man, actually. Hilarious. Been so fucking crazed. I'll get the date. I'll find it. And I'll tweet it. Anyway, El Cajon Harley, fantastic motorcycle dealer. You need your bike serviced, or maybe you need a new bike, or whatever you want to do. Get yourself on one of these mofos. I love the new engine. For real, man. It's not about sponsor. This new engine is fast and strong and smooth. I've said it over and over. El Cajon Harley. Ask for my boy Greg, and let's have some fun. See you down there. All right, anyway, it is Metal Monday officially because this will be supposedly what they say, and I never believe it anymore, the last Black Sabbath gig ever in California. Or, in Hollywood, that is. I don't know. I think they play one tomorrow night somewhere, and then I see they just keep extending the tour. It's going into, all the way through the end of the year, and then February and all that stuff in out of the country. But supposedly this will be the last hurrah of Black Sabbath. And I'm going tonight. I'm pretty fucking fired up. Rival Sons are opening. And it's interesting because I've been watching a lot of footage, and Ozzy sounds great. I want to see what it sounds like in person. But, Ozzy is one of those guys. I've seen him a million times, and he's either on or he's off. And there was a while where I was really bumming on Ozzy, where he was just shooting fire hose, foam into the crowd and water and shit. That was just fucking stupid, man. That's not rock. In my eyes, I remember I had 6th row, and he was just shooting a water cannon out in the crowd, and it's nighttime. Got my favorite leather on. I'm out ready to rock. I'm not at a water slide. I'm not at the water park. Put the fucking cannon away, old man. Old man. I always dreamed of cruising down Beverly Hills, seeing Ozzy just out with his family, and then just unloading midday a full fire extinguisher of ice cold water on him. Just oh, you don't like it, huh? Ozzy, though, he's an amazing man. He's turning out to be an Iron Man. Still alive after all these years. A lot of partying, a lot of fucking miles and wear and tear on that man. All those different eras, the incredible early Black Sabbath, Evil eras, and then, the smoking era of Randy Rhoads. Some of my favorite music ever made, The Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. And then the Sabbath reunions, the Ozfest, all that stuff. And then, of course, the Cornball Osborne show. I mean, this guy, so many fucking careers. So many careers and different chances. And, I mean, man, I'm just babbling because I'm just sitting here. I wasn't even really thinking about it. But when you really think about Black Sabbath or Ozzy and all that, it's just amazing that they're around in 2016. We still got Tony Iommi. He's doing good. He's playing great. I'm not going to beat that Bill Ward thing. That's a dead horse. That's long over and done, of course. You know, no need to talk about that. So I'm going to go tonight, celebrate, and enjoy some fucking fierce original metal at the Hollywood Bowl. Doesn't get any cooler than that. I was at the Hollywood Bowl last night, and this is the juxtapose. Last night, Kraftwerk, tonight Black Sabbath. That pretty much runs the gamut of my music taste, all the way from Kraftwerk all the way to Black Sabbath. And that's how you should be too, man. Just, I mean, I keep saying it over and over, don't box yourself in. There's so much great music out there. I've told the story a few times, but as I sat there and watched Kraftwerk last night, which, by the way, the show was in 3D, 4 old men, 4 keyboards. You put these 3D glasses on, they walk on. It's basically a concert, and you're in the Tron movie. It is just so fucking original and cool. I don't know what part of my brain that Devo and Kraftwerk touch, but it is euphoric. I don't know how those two groups hit me so hard at a young age. I don't know what it is about it. But I remember specifically exactly how I got turned on to Kraftwerk, and I was telling a friend this yesterday, and I've told it, I think, a few times on the show, but I would go to this boys club camp called Camp Mendocino up north, up in the Redwoods. 4th, 5th grade, I think maybe 3rd grade. I went like 3 years in a row. I don't think I went 6th grade, but I remember specifically a bus ride up north through the Redwoods. It's just all fucking day in this bus, like a school bus, not even not like a Greyhound bus with a bathroom, just a shit school bus. Anyway, and I find this with every kid, and I recently was asking my friends about their kid who went to camp. Your first day at camp, you're like, this sucks. Fuck this place. I want to go home. You get homesick. You miss your school friends, your neighborhood friends. Some of my neighborhood kids didn't go to camp. I know my mom dropped me off there like, all right, free babysitter all summer. I can have a little freedom. You know what I mean? So when I'm first at the camp, I'm like, this place blows. But quickly you realize camp is pretty fucking cool. It had guns. It had 22s. It had a rifle range. First time shooting guns. It had a full-blown outdoor, like trampoline, like kind of compound with like 4 or 5 trampolines. I love that. It had an arts and crafts area where you could make shit. It had horseback riding and swimming, all this great shit. It was next level, man, now that I think about it. Just cool. And I would usually spend the summer there because I could work in the cafeteria and go to the camp free, which sucked a little bit because you work in the cafeteria. You'd have to get up at like 5 a.m., but it was great also because you got your own cabin with like people that worked in the cafeteria. I'm telling this story. It's long-winded, but it means a lot to me because I remember specifically at the end of camp, which would be a month or 2 months, whatever we were there, they had a talent show. And there was a couple of these kids from Oakland that popped in this cassette tape. And this 5th grade, they were in 5th grade, and the song came on, and it was "We Are the Robots" by Kraftwerk, and they started pop locking. They were doing the robot. They were this is before you called it break dancing. It was like pop locking. It was the robot, and they were incredible. These two guys, and I couldn't believe the music. I was like, did they make this music, or where do you get this fucking thing? I mean, where is this music from? It's just straight up robot music, you know? It sounded like just music they made for this dance. And then they danced to that one, and then they went into Trans Europe Express, which is another incredible Kraftwerk song. And put on one of the coolest shows I've ever seen. They had a guy that was doing like a fake strobe light back and forth with this kind of big flashlight. And when they got off, I said, "Hey, what is that?" And they were like, "Oh, it's Kraftwerk, man." I said, "Oh, I got to get that." I remember the kid there was no tape-to-tape looping or dubbing or anything. He took a microphone out of one of the tape recorders, like those those dumb school square ones. And he hit record on the other one with the mic and just put it up the speaker, and he taped them for me. And I went home and had this tape. And little did I know that what was going on, and I talked about it before, somehow that tape had to have gotten from like New York in the early hip hop scene. Early, I'm talking ground zero fucking hip hop. That tape spread around like Metallica's metal tape spread around and got all the way to Oakland and San Francisco and the Bay Area. And I'm sure all through all kinds of different communities where word of mouth of this hip hop and this sound and this dancing and these soon to come whole lifestyle. It's just crazy to think how this cassette tape made it to these 5th graders who probably got it from their older brothers, maybe in 8th grade or something. But I never forgot that tape, and I never forgot that band. And later on, I realized, it's, you know, years and years later, it's like I buy one of the records, Trans Europe Express, and I'm like, wow, these guys are from Germany. So you got to think about the music comes from Germany, gets to New York. Somehow this shit cassette gets across the states. No internet, no fucking, you know. I'm sure some kid maybe visited his family in New York. They handed it to him like, this is what's going on here. He brought it to the Bay Area, and then it got all the way up to this fucking Camp Mendocino in the Redwoods on a fucking hot August night, just fucking pop locking. Never forgot it. And there I was last night. They whipped out Trans Europe Express, full blast. I was front row with my boy Danny. And we had the glasses on, and I was fucking electrified, man. I was like, wow, this is just fucking cool. That's how cool music is, man. Talk about memories all the way back to the 5th grade. Here I am, 50 years old, watching Trans Europe Express, We Are the Robots, the Autobahn, all of it, man. Anyway, I had to share that with you guys. Hope you're all doing great. I had a fantastic weekend. I was out with one of my favorite people of all time, Bill Burr. And anytime I get to go on the road with Bill Burr, and this was for 3 nights this time. We were in Durham, North Carolina at the Carolina Theater. That was absolutely beautiful. I think it was built in 1926, I believe, or I don't know. They're on their 90th year. This theater was insane. It was incredible. It had history. They tried to tear it down before, and then they saved it. Then it went out of business once again, and whatever, man. These theaters, all of them need to be saved. There's so much soul, and they're so fucking cool. And they just have history, and you're on the stage, and you're just looking out at the crowd going, How many people have performed in this place for the last 90 years? Kraftwerk probably played there once. I doubt it. The Bible Belt, Kraftwerk in the Bible Belt. It was interesting performing in the Bible Belt. You could feel some tightness, which I enjoyed. I like that a little bit, making some fucking butts pucker. Like, oh, what's he saying? It's an amazing different sort of vibe when you get into the Bible Belt. You forget all about it because you're just wherever you're at. I'm in Hollywood. I've been in California so long. And I learned something from Bill on my second year of comedy. I remember he said, you're going on every night. You got to take a night off. You need to go out and live a little bit so you have something to write about. Because if you just keep working and working and working, your brain's only seeing the comedy club and your apartment and wherever you eat, and after a while you run out of things to write. And which was great because I did exactly that with Bill. We went to a college football game. Tar Heels. Went and saw the North Carolina Tar Heels. I would have never done that in my whole life, go to a college football game. So it was so amazing to do that with Bill. I love that man. I could spend months with him. I've said it over and over. I don't get to spend enough time with these guys because they have real lives. They have wives and they have busy schedules, and like him and Marin and those kind of guys. You're like, oh, can't we just hang? I feel like I'm like the new puppy. Like, come on, man, let's play. Come on, throw the frisbee. I just love hanging with those guys. So when I get on the road, it's great because it's one-on-one. It's not at a comedy club, and it's not like, surrounded by people that are like, hey, can you do this for me and that? And hey, you know what I mean? It's just us at a college football game, and the sun was there. The sun was fucking right on our faces. 97 degrees in the bleachers. We were under this overhang, but my feet were just melting from the sun. It was the only thing not in the overhang. We had an amazing time. Thank you, everyone that came out, and anyone new listening to the podcast from the shows. You guys fully rock. Full blown. A long intro today. Let me get to the show. Sorry, I just a lot to talk about, A lot to talk about. Incredible guest today. Music guest. Taylor Locke is on today. You're wondering who that is? If you know a little band called Rooney that came out, I guess, around in 2002. I've got a shelf of CDs here that I call the Coachella bands. Just a lot of bands from the early 2000s that, you bought a couple CDs from them, and then you're like, what happened to that band? And this band, Rooney, when I really think about it and listen to the record again, I listened to it about 5 times a couple weeks ago. It was just some incredible fucking songwriting, some spectacular recordings, and just a good-looking group of like rock guys. They put out a great record. It had a song that blew my mind, the Blue Side, and made me buy the record right away. You can watch the video on YouTube. And then I realized the whole record was great. Just fucking smoking. And then boom, out of sight, out of mind. I was guilty of that. Like I always ask people, like, how come you didn't keep following the Black Crowes or whoever you liked? What made you stop buying their next record? Why did you lose interest? You loved this band so much on their first record. Why didn't you buy the second record? And I was asking that, and I asked Taylor what happened. An interesting story. It's a classic record company story, and it's a classic band story. I could have 1 million guys on this couch, and probably only 5 can talk about still having the same band members. Maybe less. What do we got? Springsteen, E Street Band, even though he's lost some guys from that have passed away, but U2, Who else? Aerosmith. It's really fucking a small number. This guy is a great guy. He brought me a fucking Bowie record. He plays in an amazing Fleetwood Mac cover band that's playing the Viper Room on October 13th. Do not miss that if you live in LA. It sounds so interesting what they're doing right now. And great dude, man. Just a really fucking solid guy. I want to get into it. Let's do it. Thank you, everybody. Hope to see you out there. I'm going to be gone all week. Next weekend, I'm going on a shark trip, which I'll tell you about next Monday. I'm going to dive with the great white sharks in the Guadalupe Islands, which is about 200 miles off the coast of Baja. Get in the cages. I've done it before, and I figured, fuck it, I got to go do it again. I got to go dive and see those great white sharks again. It's that time. I'll be in Canada at the end of the month, Edmonton. Hope to see you out there, guys, from Wednesday the 28th through October 2nd. I'll be at the comic strip in Edmonton. And then what else am I going to be doing? I'm going to New York. I'm going to be in New York for another 8 days from October 12th through the 18th. And, I found that fucking, I think it's the 20th. The 20th is that El Cajon gig. All right, guys, I'm babbling on, man. I just hope you guys are all good. Keep the candles lit. Taylor Locke. What's happening, man? Another episode of Let There Be Talk. Introduce yourself, brother.
My name's Taylor Locke, and glad it's pretty cool in here.
Yeah,
fuck this heat. Coming to Sherman Oaks, I was like, we going raw denim or Speedos?
I know, right?
Tough out here.
You know what, man? I get fucking lucky. The downstairs is really cool because this tree blocks most of the day, but the upstairs is straight up fucking inferno.
Yeah.
And
you just moved
these
in,
boxes right here are going to Amoeba. Those are the last of my CDs.
So you can stand there for 4 hours and get $11?
No, I'm going to... actually, my landlord works there, and I'm just going to send them with her and then go pick up... I'm at the point where I don't even care. All I care about is vinyl or iTunes streaming.
Right.
I love the streaming. I've said it over and over. I could be on an airplane or anywhere and go, you know what, right now, I want to listen to Rooney. Yeah. Now, you were in Rooney, which is hilarious. Phil Sasson hooked us up. But before Phil sent me your info, I showed you the Instagram.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
it's
that.
right here.
I couldn't believe that.
I was going through my CDs.
Throw that in the amoeba pile. Go get a couple bucks for it.
This is all my killer bootlegs and shit. But I was going through my CDs and I go, oh, fuck. Look at this band, Rooney. There's a shitload of bands in the 90s and 2000s that had a CD that would like really hit me, and then later on I just kind of forgot. But that band had some fucking great songs.
Well, thanks.
A Blue Side, of course, was the one everybody knew.
Right.
And then what was it? Stay Away.
Yeah.
And then Pop Stars is the tune of the record for me.
You think so?
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Got voted out of the live set very early on and didn't come back.
You know what's so funny? Because I saw you multiple times.
Really?
Yeah, I think once was at the Fonda. Did you guys play? You opened with for the Strokes.
Yeah.
And
Weezer.
Yeah, Weezer, which you sounded a lot like Weezer.
Yeah.
I
just listened to a podcast with the Weezer guys on it talking about Ocasek producing their first record, and we were big Cars and Weezer fans, and he was all slated to do our record.
Really?
And we jumped ship at the last minute.
Oh, man, it's so... it's funny is Weezer, the Blue album, I was at the record release party at Club Lingerie that particular night when that record came out, and I had never heard of the band. And they come out, they play that song In My Garage.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wow, this fucking band, they were singing, all of them.
Yep.
They had songs galore. and which was a lot like your band. You guys all sang.
Yeah.
You had great songs, and the record, I don't know who did it since Rick Ocasek did it, but I just put it on again on the digital.
It's, Keith Forsey, who did Rebel Yell and a bunch of all the big Billy Idol stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that thing, even in the iTunes form, sounds phenomenal.
Mixed by Andy Wallace, who mixed
king.
Nevermind. Yeah.
Guy's a king.
I flew out. I said, I don't give a shit if they're not going to. I'll fly myself out there to watch Andy mix this record. Man.
Where'd he mix that at? Where's he
In
live?
New York. I don't know how much he does now because, I mean, talk about 90s, 2000s band. It's like there was a pivot where it was the last wave of major label deals where they're going to pay for radio and MTV support. And who do you want to mix the record? Well, I fucking like the way Nevermind sounds. How about that guy?
Yeah.
And the guy gets $100,000 and 2 points or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
2
like,
points. People don't know what points are. It's
Maybe
the
it was one.
band's
It was probably
money.
1 point. Yeah.
Whatever. It's Rick Rubin, I remember, was the first guy to get like 5 points.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were like 5 points.
Yeah.
You know?
The band, for those who don't know, the band gets 12 points.
Yeah.
And the producer points come out of that 12.
Yeah, they don't come out of the record company's side. Band gets 12 points, and usually, like that's like $1.
But the amount of money that was being spent in those days, the account you had to recoup against, it was so astronomical that it was like, we're going to have to just make our money on the road, merch, placements.
Let's get into this a little bit. Now, are you an LA kid?
I'm an LA guy. It's funny you were talking about on some of your other episodes, like pay-to-play gigs.
Yeah.
I played at the Roxy when I was 11.
11?
Yeah.
What the fuck? You were in a band at 11?
I was just, I started playing guitar when I was a real little kid. I was into any form. I mean, this will tie in later to the comedy thing, too. Anybody up on stage jumping around and entertaining, you know.
And what neighborhood you in?
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica. I met your parents. That was...
yeah, that was a fucking crazy night. So my birthday and my mom's birthday and my girlfriend and I's anniversary, it's all in the same couple of days.
I love your mom. She was just so like... she just looked like a rich woman. You know what I mean? Is she rich?
You talk exactly like her brothers. I got 2 uncles, and every time I listen to your podcast, it sounds like my uncles are doing the podcast.
It's hilarious, but she does look like a wealthy woman.
My folks did well in entertainment, film, and TV. My dad's a producer.
Well, your dad was a producer?
Yeah, he was.
He looked like he had no fun.
He was tired, man. He's older. They're 11 years apart.
Oh wow!
For him to be out at the Comedy Store at all, you know, he was pushing. He was early on partners with Wes Craven. He produced Hills Have Eyes.
Oh no shit!
Yeah, and he did a bunch of horror stuff, and then
that's badass.
A bunch of stuff, yeah.
And what your mom was an actress?
No. She met him working as a secretary at his production company.
Wow.
And then she did a lot.
He just scooped that up,
She just did a lot of charity work. She was a president of a cancer charity, and involved in stuff, supportive.
I think you're like one of the only guests that ever met their parents.
Yeah, totally.
It was great.
They're friends with the general manager at Chateau Marmont, and we just said we're gonna fucking blow it out. 2 birthdays and an anniversary, and we knew you and Sebastian were gonna be at the store. I've been seeing Sebastian since I had a fake ID. Before I could even get in legally to the Comedy Store. I saw him when he was coming up from the Four Seasons to do his sets.
Yeah, we were talking about that when I first started seeing Sebastian. He was wearing a suit, and I just figured that was his style,
right?
And which is cool because everybody when I was first going to the Comedy Store was wearing like hoodies, and now it's flannels. Unfortunately for me, because I love flannels.
Yeah, you got to just stick to it though, man.
Yeah,
it's gonna come and go, and you just stay.
Never change it.
Yeah,
man,
my friend Ned, the drummer I play with, who was in Rooney and is now in this tribute band. He bought a flannel the other day when we were on tour. He said, "Man, when you go do Dean's podcast, you got to tell him, man, I got this new flannel. I'm keeping the fucking candles lit, man."
Yeah, dude. I love flannels.
Yeah.
And especially the Ironheart ones. I like cotton. I grew up wearing the Pendleton ones, and they're too, they're wool, and I don't like wool. And now that the cotton ones are out, it's fucking great. But anyway, also, though, I wanted to say Sebastian was working at Four Seasons as a waiter, and I didn't know that till later on. So on his lunch or dinner break, he would fly up, do his set, and then come back and work. That's why he wore a suit.
Yeah, and so I'm sitting in the Comedy Store 2002 or something. I'm probably 20.
And you're in Rooney.
And I'm in Rooney. My dad had known Mitzi and Bud Friedman and Jamie Masada in the 70s. He came out with all the New York comedy Jew guys.
Yeah.
But I didn't know, now looking back, what lean years those were for the store. You know, it was fucking empty.
Yeah.
You know, they were just dying to get people in there for free. And so the comedy bug, it sort of became a ritual for me, because when you're touring 150, 200 shows a year, I'm not coming home to go out to rock shows.
Yeah.
I got enough of the rock club.
Yep.
So comedy became my new hobby. This was pre all the podcasts and Netflix and Louis C.K. It was
2002.
I didn't know anybody who was into stand-up. We'd come home from a tour and be like, you do what? You go out to stand-up? Yeah, I go see this Italian guy, Sebastian, at the Comedy Store. He's fucking hilarious.
Who else were you seeing then? Do you remember? Like, who was in there? Renazizi or?
Yeah, but there were still older guys. And I mean, I would see Fleischer.
Oh, yeah. Charles Fleischer.
Charles Fleischer. You know, Argus, which I don't know if his set has been updated since those days.
No. He throws some new shit in there.
He? Right. Bobby Lee, I've seen all the way since back then. And then somewhere in there, I was back on the road, and it was a night off. Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I see the poster for the Vince Vaughn movie with Sebastian in it. And I said, these are a bunch of the guys that I see at the Comedy Store, and there's like a tour bus in the poster, and everyone's like, you want to spend our one night off on the tour bus to go see a movie about a bunch of fucking guys in a tour bus? Like, come on, let's see something else.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, no, this is that guy Sebastian. And then in the movie, he's telling the story about his career's taking off enough where he can quit the fucking Four Seasons gig, and he cries in the movie. And then I came back to LA, saw him again, had seen the movie. I feel like I'm just one of his now, however, tens of thousands or more fans. But I feel like it was like seeing a band before they broke. You know?
What I love about him is and I'm sure like people don't understand how hard this is, but all of his following is from stand-up. He's not on TV. He's not on a TV show. That's fucking, the Vince Vaughn Wild West comedy thing. After that, though, a couple years goes by, and, that movie's long gone, and he's out there grinding it in the trenches and becoming a full-blown fucking star, you know? He sells out theaters now.
I love that. And the comedy thing and the music thing, what I really love about what you just said is it's that 10,000 hours Malcolm Gladwell Outliers thing about like the Beatles in Germany,
Exactly.
Like, it's just getting your stage time in.
It's funny because I'm over 3,000 spots, and I was talking to someone in the parking lot. It might have been Burr or somebody, and they said, man, I want 3,000 shows is a lot. Yeah. But when you add up the hours, I think it was like 65 hours or something. It was more than that, but a couple thousands of those spots are like 10 and 15 minutes, Yeah. So, at first I was like, man, I got to be getting close to 10,000 hours.
For me, seeing Sebastian now is like if you go see Springsteen or the Stones, like he can't do all the material you love because you'd be there all night.
Yeah.
I love that he's writing and doing shit, and then I'm like, man, I want to hear some mid-period Sebastian.
Yeah,
I want to hear like some Rubber Soul Sebastian. I want to hear, you don't do that bit anymore. It's like, no, I haven't done that bit in 6 years. Like, I want a Sebastian Greatest Hits box set. You know?
Well, it's like when you go see bands, like we were saying, pop stars, like, out of your set, and then out of sight, out never in again. That's how bits are. Sometimes I completely forget bits, and someone will come up and go, "Dude, you don't do that one bit anymore." And I go, "Holy shit, I forgot all about that bit," and I'll go on stage and do it that night.
I'm in a tribute band that we'll get to. It's like a music industry hack. We get paid more money than Rooney did.
Yeah.
And every night there's songs. It's somebody, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?
Oh, anyway, which is great, though, because when you go on the road, you'll be able to do different sets and everything. Yeah. All right, so you're 11. And you're fucking playing the Roxy?
I saw, MTV, Nirvana.
You're growing up in Santa Monica. Nirvana's like your first thing?
Yeah, and I'd taken guitar lessons since I was a little kid.
What kind of guitars were you having? Good ones?
Oh, no, I'm talking about little kid. Yeah. I had like a fucking half-size nylon string guitar going to McCabe's on Pico.
Oh, yeah.
My mom took me to McCabe's. They said, come back in 1 year. We love that you want to bring such a young kid to take guitar lessons, but there's fucking no way he's going to be mature enough to sit through a lesson. Give it 1 more year.
How old were you?
Like, dude, like 4 or 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, what made you want to get into guitar at 4 or 5? Because you don't know Nirvana then.
No.
Just your parents were rockers?
Well, they definitely... My dad played Beatles and Beach Boys and Dylan in the house, and then my 2 uncles, my mom has 2 brothers who played guitar and sax, and they had been, rockers the whole time. But
you got some brothers and sisters?
I got 1 younger brother who's about to get a PhD in environmental science.
Wow.
But he came on the road to roadie for Rooney twice, so he knows all that shit. He's so into it. He called me from a Joe Walsh gig in Baltimore the other day. He's like, all right, there's 2 18-wheeler semis, there's 4 Prevos, one of them has a trailer on it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking all of Joe's backlines in the semis, the opening band's one with the trailer, the 3 other buses should be band, crew, and Joe has his own. You think I'm right on this? He's like into all the minutia of road production.
Joe's definitely got his own bus.
Yeah,
that guy's
my
loaded.
brother drum teched for our drummer.
Oh, yeah?
Came out, yeah.
All right, so you go back to McCabe's, you start taking...
taking lessons, and then, I saw MTV, saw Nirvana, and I wouldn't have known then, because it's a sophisticated idea for a little kid, but it had the, like, aggression and, like, testosterone and sort of, like, blow-off steam quality that a kid needs at that age.
At
like
11?
11, 12,
right.
13... running around.
13 for sure. You change. You change as a person.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like, fuck everything.
Sweaty and angry and running around.
You got like a boner. You don't know why. You're just like, what is going on with me? Your body's changing.
Totally. Ripping jeans on purpose, dyeing hair every single color. Because that's Nirvana's outward style. But it's a front for... his songwriting, which I think melodically and the chord changes, somewhere inside of me, I could feel it hitting the same pleasure center of like a Beatles or a Beach Boys classic 60s songwriting. So he has... Same
style of songwriting.
Totally.
Very hooky, poppy choruses. Here we are now.
Yeah. That shit, take away all the 90s production, is like early Beatles. It almost sounds like pre-Help.
Yep.
Kind of Beatles.
Absolutely.
So somewhere inside of me, the combination between the beauty and the aggression was sort of clicking for me, and that was formative, because then I got really, really deep into Queen, the ELO,
right,
and stuff where it's like kind of bombastic and like
a lot of fucking background vocals. Did you get into Jellyfish?
Yeah. Dude.
Of course, yeah.
I just got the
Spilt Milk. I mean,
Roger Joseph Manning Jr., the keyboard player, just moved his collection of 30 synthesizers into my studio. We partnered up. I'll show you photos. I got the Jellyfish.
I got to get him on the show.
Oh, he'll do it absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
He was at my house this morning.
Wow.
Yeah. Now
I saw them 3 times.
Yeah.
What a fucking band.
I'll bet. I saw them on fucking YouTube in the back of a tour bus because I was too young to have seen them for real.
Dude, saw them on the Spilt Milk tour, dude, there's nothing better than that. Talk about a band singing with fucking songs. Russian Hill. Are you kidding me?
4-part harmony. All is forgiven. All is forgiven.
All is forgiven. Yeah, man, that shit. And joining a fan club.
Unbelievable.
Everything about it. Their look, the cover, the sound, the
John
cocktail
Bryan played guitar on joining a fan club. Oh, we could do the whole hour on Jellyfish.
Yeah, it's
But now Roger is a friend. I see him every day. He called me. He lives in Echo Park. He was paying a lot of money for a big fucking rental room at Mates for all his gear.
Oh yeah,
like the high end rock and roll renters where they do cartage and he, the session culture has changed. And he said once every couple of months a producer calls me and says, "Can you come down and play Rhodes on something?" So he has got to go from Echo Park to out here to get his Rhodes, to go to Hollywood to play for an hour to take it back. And he said, "I can't do this anymore." So he had been to my studio for a couple of things that we had done. And he said, here's the trade. You're going to store my entire fucking collection for free. But it's out in the open. You hook it up, you play it, and you can use it on anything, and you can advertise as part of the studio's collection. If you're producing a client, have at it. So this has been the project the last few weeks. Just last night, we got 17 synths, all hooked into like a sub mixer that all goes into Pro Tools. And Roger, he gets his shit maintained because there's nothing worse when someone's like, man, you want to see my 61 SG?
Yeah.
And I hand it to it. Well, dude, the strings are fucking, I'm going to get tetanus from the strings.
Yeah.
They're an inch off the fretboard. No, thanks. Send me a photo of it. It's unplayable.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, his shit is maintained. There's clavinets, pianets, Junos.
I love the clavinet.
All the shit.
The
Unbelievable.
clavinet is just fucking
Great.
The sound, man. You know, it's just Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
very superstitious.
First thing my engineer bandmate played when we fired it up last night.
Oh,
You know?
the clavinet. I also love the early Whirlies, the tan ones.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, Wurlitzer. I
And
think
Rhodes, we got both of them in there.
Fender Rhodes, Wurlitzer, clavinet, and B3.
Yeah.
Those are the fucking sounds of R&B and classic prog rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All those are the ones, you know?
Yeah.
So okay, so you start learning guitar, you're getting into Queen, you're getting into that shit. So you're obviously into that style
But I
of
wasn't
music.
ready. When you talk about Jellyfish and Queen, those harmonies, like at the going chronologically back to the age I wasn't there yet. I knew that was hearing a great classic Paul McCartney melody or a big stack of Queen harmonies or even the chorus, that was definitely scratching an itch. That was what I was into. But at the time, it was, grungy, thrashing around. I was a kid.
Yeah, were you into the other grunge bands too, like Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam?
Yeah,
and Mother Love Bone. And
was. Nirvana is the one that stood the test of time for me.
That was the least for me.
Right.
You know, it was funny because
I heard you say that the other day on one of the shows. Yeah.
Because first, to me, it's Love Bone.
Yeah.
And they're not grunge or anything, but I was obsessed with Love Bone. I just couldn't believe how great the songwriting was. And talk about Fender Rhodes or Wurlitzer, you know, and Stardust Champion, all that shit. And then then Soundgarden.
I like Soundgarden. I like them a lot.
Dude, Louder Than Love,
Yeah.
it changed my life. It was the new Sabbath to me.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the new Sabbath. It was my Black Sabbath, because Sabbath was 70s, and I always say the Sabbath to me is the Ronnie James Dio era. And I also saw Sabbath on the Born Again tour. So I love the Ronnie James Dio era. So when Soundgarden comes out, I'm like, well, this is Sabbath.
Yeah.
But fucking with even a better singer.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's like Jellyfish was my Queen.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was definitely into Soundgarden, and it's funny you were just saying how the first Rooney record you thought it sounded so good on MP3, because Ned, the drummer, and I, we always clown on ourselves. We always joke. We're like, the beginning of every decade, it doesn't know what the style of that decade. You can only really suss it out in retrospect. So we always joke, not that musically it's similar, but we always compare our record to 10 by Pearl Jam, because it's like, it still has the fucking hairband reverbs on it and shit.
Yeah,
And like
after
that, they got into their more the Who, Ramones kind of.
Yeah, like Versus is totally dry. Like Rats is so weird, you know?
Totally.
They don't speak and all that shit, you know?
But you can almost see on 10 some engineer hovering over the board. And his last session that was in there was probably like Cinderella, and he's just cranking the reverb and shit.
Yeah.
It wasn't sussed out yet.
That thing's washed out. I don't even really listen to 10 that much. I love Release, you know?
Yeah.
But to me, it was, once Versus hit, I was mind blown. I was mind blown, man. I loved everything. The cover with the sheep.
Yeah.
It was done up there at the site where Keith Richards did Talk Is Cheap.
Yeah, right.
That's an incredible studio. And
Adam Casper, the engineer. He did a bunch. He did one song. There's one song on the Rooney record produced by Jimmy Iovine, because he signed us and we put in the deal. You got to produce one song, because he hadn't produced.
I remember
since
that. I
like
read that.
Petty or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he put us with Adam Casper.
So you now you start playing. How do you hook up with the Rooney guys? Now let's talk a little bit about the Rooney singer. First of all, he, in my eyes, is Hollywood royalty.
Right.
His mom is fucking Adrian from Rocky,
Right.
and and also Godfather. You know.
Right. But are you sure you don't want to hear about how I played the Roxy when I was 11? Before we go.
Wait, what?
You sure you don't want to hear about my show when I was 11?
Oh yeah. So we were getting into that. You're going to play the
heard-
Roxy.
I heard that there was pay to play.
Yeah.
And that you could, and it was all ages. People in other parts of the world are thinking Whiskey, Roxy, Troubadour, like these are legendary names, but it was actually a rough time for the Strip.
Yeah.
Like
what year?
Late 90s.
Oh yeah, this shit is like, after hair bands and then grunge comes, then it's
And they're
tumbleweeds
putting
up
on
there.
10 bands a night.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So we'd get these tickets, and you'd have to sell them, and then you play. So I went away to summer camp, and you call your folks once a week, and my dad said, there's a message on the machine from the booker at the Roxy. Big national show's coming through. They got to bump your date. So I had to make new flyers, call people.
Now, you already have a band together at
Kid band, yeah.
Kid band, from junior high?
Yeah, junior high kids pretending to do Nirvana.
Yeah.
Dyeing our hair.
Yeah.
Stratocaster looks like a
Originals?
mariachi guitar on the body, you know?
Yeah. Originals?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, sure.
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
to write home about.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Yeah.
So they got to change a date, and I'm like devastated. So we get the new date. We have to tell everyone. Next week, parent check-in call from summer camp. He called again. He's going to change a date again. And I was like so bummed. My dad said, it doesn't matter if you're a kid. He signed a contract, and you shouldn't let him do this to you twice.
Yeah.
You should call him. So I'm fucking 11 at summer camp. I called Eddie, bald Eddie at the Rock. Said, I don't know, my voice had changed yet. I'm like, Eddie, I heard you changed the show twice, and one time, I played ball with you, man. You can't do this to us again. We sold these tickets for you.
Yeah.
We got to tell all these people. So whatever that show is you got that night, you got to just stick us on as the openers. It was Local H when they had Just Don't Get It.
Yeah, Local H.
Co-headlining with Orange 9mm.
Oh, Orange 9mm, great record.
So then Eddie has to go to their agent and say, hey, there's some 11-year-olds are open for you tonight. I already moved the date once. I can't do it to him again.
Yeah.
So that was my first big gig. It was opening for
wow.
Yeah.
Were you guys like, how many songs? 5?
No, probably like a half hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At Orange 9mm, great record.
Yeah. I don't really know it.
Yeah, it was. They had one record and it was cool. Local H, I don't know it, but Orange, I know the band, but I never got into it or anything.
Yeah.
So now,
a few years later, now I'm like learning that I want to do more like then 90s Britpop, like Oasis, Blur.
So
now I'm like, this
great.
is like next level when I'm into
The
it. I like
Verve.
that. Oh yeah,
Come on,
great.
man. The
Love all
Verve.
it. So I'm listening to Oasis, and it's like kind of leaves off where Nirvana left with the bigness of the guitars and the attitude and the swagger, but now they're really going for those 60s melodies and those references to Beatles stuff, and I loved it. That's when I met Robert, the singer in Rooney. And
where do you meet him at?
Friend of a friend. He went to another high school in L.A.
You guys went to the same school?
No, neighboring schools in L.A.
Yeah.
And his older brother was in Phantom Planet, who I'd gone to see. And they were doing like 3-part harmony and stuff, and that's, I really liked that. And he had some songs, but he was kind of shy, and he had never played at the Roxy or anything.
What songs did he have at the time?
Probably Blue Side already. Yeah.
Wow.
So we just started jamming in high school, and got scouted by a manager. We changed, got our lineup together. At one point we had 3 guitar players, had to kick a guy out, and a drummer who wanted to leave to go to college. We met our drummer. Lineup was solidified with the 5 of us, and got a manager, and it was one of the last sort of like bidding wars of the early 2000s. Offers from 4 or 5, Warner, Elektra, all the, I don't remember.
Now, how many gigs you played before bidding war happens?
Well, probably 2 years.
Now, what was word on the street who the kid was? That his mom was Adrian from Rocky? Talia?
It's a good question. I'm 16 and just loading my fucking amp in and out of the car.
Yeah.
If it was the word on the street, it was whispered.
Yeah, because
People weren't in
I
our
didn't even
face
know
with
it till this week when I was like, I'm gonna look it up and just check it out.
I'm sure the A&R people coming to the gigs were aware, but it wasn't in our faces.
Yeah. And they didn't really pump that like when it wasn't like,
Right.
his mom from Godfather, and his brother from, whatever.
Right. In Europe a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, fuck. We go over to Germany, it's all they want to talk about.
About his mom?
Oh, his whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Francis Ford Coppola. I mean, if you've listened to my shows, I'm an absolute Coppola freak.
Yeah.
Francis Ford.
Yeah.
I think he's the all-time best director of ever. And then Talia is incredible in Rocky and Godfather.
Yeah. That's a heavyweight family.
Heavyweight family.
But what got us signed, it's not that. It's not
tunes.
The family. Well, it's that, and it's all, yeah, definitely. But the access to promoting yourself in high school. Imagine if like everyone who's in your Twitter sphere now was like in the same hallway, you know? Like flyering, like when you're a teenager and you're looking for shit to do and there's a kid in your class who's playing the Roxy and he hands you a flyer, like people would show up. So I think the same way now that a label wants to wait until their social medias hit a certain number before they'll even listen. Fuck the tunes. They just want to see that somebody else cares about it before they
don't give a fuck about it.
Right.
And there was even that wave of MySpace,
right,
where people would, it's funny because I want to have like huge A&R guys on, like 3 or 4, you know. I want to have on a Rick Rubin. I want to have on what's his name? Even the dude that signed Aerosmith and everybody, John Kalodner. Because after that wave was done, it just became some interns over at like Geffen just combing. They're just combing fucking MySpace, going, "Oh, these guys got 1 million hits," and then they just sign them.
Yeah, but you know what? Get signed was not a phrase in the inner lexicon of our band. I think not that we were cocky and thought it was inevitable, but we basically thought, well, if we can get 400 or 500 people to come out and they buy the little EP we made ourselves and they buy the t-shirts, it's just going to spread from there. So we sort of just pretended like we were a label and a manager and an agent and a band. We just kind of did it. And I can't remember a single talk with any of my bandmates at the end of high school when we were playing our first couple years of gigs about getting signed or how we're going to get signed or did you hear so-and-so got signed.
Yeah.
It was just rehearse, book, play the gigs, try to promote them so people show up. And then, all this...
Was that because you guys, like... you guys all had, like, your family have money, so it's like, who cares if we get signed? You know what I mean?
I don't think so. I think, well, first of all, everybody's parents wanted us all to go to college. So it was like a race to get accepted to a good school or get a good record deal offer. Which one's going to happen first? And it was tight, and we weren't all the same class. So our bass player had graduated, was going to school in Santa Barbara and commuting to rehearse with us. Right. And then our singer graduated and went to New York.
He was writing the songs in school and just quit.
Right. So Thanksgiving break would be our first gig for the fall, and then Christmas break would be the second gig, and we were planning it, but that's when label attention started, and I just said, look, you don't want to be in school and you don't want to be in New York. And then 9/11 right then, and he just thought, like, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go back to LA. The band's gonna happen. Yeah,
the timing is incredible too, because I often talk about the timing of the early 2000s. It's like the 90s grunge, tons of shit booming, and then it's tumbleweeds in the music biz for a while. Then you got Oasis. And you've got the Verve and everything, but that kind of never really gets huge in United States.
The early 2000s.
Here comes Strokes, the Yeah Yeah Yeahs.
Right, but just before that, when we were in early label meetings, things had divided into like the extreme fucking like POD, Puddle of Mud, Stained. These names should not even be coming out of my mouth.
I forgot about all that stuff.
That shit. On the other end, the really, really like, top 40 kind of pop starlets like Jessica Simpson.
Oh, yeah.
And that was really hard for the label to know which lane to stick us in, because rock radio was like super heavy and pop radio was super light, and we're like in this Cheap Trick Cars mode where it's like, well, they got guitars and hair and like there's a little bit of menacing like rock and roll energy there, but these are sweet pop songs that could cross over to a pop audience. And I think it was really confusing for some of the more closed-minded staff members of the label who could only see it.
You're at Interscope, right?
Interscope, yeah.
Now, Jimmy Iovine, he comes down, he watches the band. Who else is there?
It was Jordan Schur. And Jordan, his reputation is what it is, and his personality, people like to say a lot of things, but I'm very diplomatic in what I'll say about Jordan, because he spent a fuck ton of money on my old band, and
Yeah.
he never stopped. So he came down, and we ended up signing with him, and he brought us to Jimmy. And then the first record, we were going to do it with OK Sick. Went to New York, did pre-production at SAR. We played CBGBs, went to his townhouse, met his wife, you know, for those who don't know, is
Paulina.
Paulina.
Yep.
And with I would say with much respect to Rick, who's one of the greats in my eyes, and the cars are just phenomenal. He wanted a huge amount of money and a huge amount of points, and we went into pre-production. He wore dark sunglasses, and he smoked Virginia Slims, and he doodled on a notepad, and he'd occasionally look up and say, I really like that song, and I like the drum beat, and I like all the guitar parts, and I like all the words, so that'll be good. We'll just leave that like that. And then he'd doodle and smoke, and then an hour later say, this one's going to be really great. We're just going to get a nice clean recording of it. I don't think it really needs much.
You know, it's so funny when you think about producers. The songs probably were fucking genius and all in line. But when a band is a little insecure and a big star comes in, you think that he's going to bring some magic.
Yeah, totally.
You think, and really, what you don't know is you already had the magic. You had songs, but I hear what you're saying.
And the experience maybe is the magic in and of itself.
Yeah.
We played CBGBs just so Rick could see us. We're at SIR in Manhattan. We go to his fucking townhouse and meet his wife. Maybe that's all we needed.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
He should do some kind of program where for a lot less money, I won't produce your record, but you can come over and I'll show you
I'll just throw a little pixie dust at your ass, and a little bit of Cars fucking rock and roll, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah. When you see what kind of brand of cigarettes I smoke, and my fucking mullet and earring,
you're gonna know I'm all wrong.
That's the juice, all the juice you need to go make this record.
Now, so he's just doodling, and at one point you guys have a band meeting, and you just go, this guy's out.
So what happened was, we had made some demos before we had gone from our real scrappy demos that we had made ourselves.
Yeah.
And then our manager said, well, not all these labels are going to be able to come see the live show. We got to have something on tape. And Keith Forsey, the Billy Idol producer, we did 4 or 5 songs with him. And I think it was a spec deal. And at one point, OK Sick says, do you think it would be okay if those 4 or 5 demos, if we just put those on the record and I just produce the other 5 or 6 songs?
Wow.
Because I don't think I can beat that production.
Wow. Once he says that, you know he's not your guy.
That conference call, everybody's on. He wants this much money and that many points. He's not paying attention and he's doodling. And now he doesn't even want to redo those songs. We got to go back with Keith Forsey. We called Keith. Good day for him, you know. We fired OK Sick. You're back. You know?
Wow. And what studio do you do it at?
We did a lot of it at NRG.
Oh, yeah, Energy.
But, you know, that was like the tail end of the big studio budget culture where it's like we're going to the big room, so we got to get our drums done in 2 days so we can go to the cheaper studio to do overdubs.
What was your record deal? Did you got a bidding war? Did you get a big amount of money, like $1 million deal?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And did each guy split that?
Yeah. We split the record deal 5 ways, and then our singer wrote the songs. He got a publishing deal.
Was everybody writing in the band?
No.
Who was writing? Just
the singer, which became very, very contentious and one of the sort of downfalls of the band. You know, we were all cut in a little bit on publishing, but not a lot. But yeah, we got this big deal. But that's when the spending started, just the initial advance, and then we're going to live in a band house and buy gear and work at NRG. And then it was like, at this point, forget about royalties. You got to figure out a road business because you will not recoup this ever. And then they say, we want to spend this on this. Great, you want us to make a $65,000 music video? Great, why not?
Yeah.
Now,
where's your band house at? Like Beechwood Canyon?
On Genesee, across from Guitar Center there.
Oh, right there?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great street.
Yeah. But, you know, a different argument, a different style of management would have been, no, everything they spend, we have to recoup. Let's keep costs really low. And at the time, I was dating the guitar player from the Donnas.
And, really?
And that's how they did it. Their band, they never took much from the label because they always stayed ahead. They'd get royalty checks. They'd put them in the band account, and they'd pay themselves a salary, and they ran it like a tight little punk rock business. So I was always jealous that they had such a stable adult way of doing it.
They're a great band, right?
Great. And she was always jealous that our band was just like money was being thrown in it, but it's like we're never going to see that money. But
Yeah.
we got a couple fancy music videos out of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
tour support, which spoiled us, so we had a bus before we could afford a bus.
Right.
So yeah, we had a bunch of great tours early on, and then
Wait, so the record comes out. Let's
Yep.
now, and it kind of die for a minute until you're on the OC.
slow and steady. We never had big weeks. We never had small weeks. We were like touring, opening for different big bands.
You're out with the Strokes.
Strokes, Weezer, Travis, Pete Yorn, the Donnas.
Pete Yorn. Which record are you on? The wait, I think you guys opened on that Day I Forget record or whatever.
Could have been.
The
I
fucking,
don't remember.
That record is that's the
He's
record.
good. He's
That's
good.
the record, man.
Yeah, Sloan, great Canadian
Sloan.
band. Longtime good friends of mine. They've worked in my studio. I know. They stayed at my house for a week in between Coachella.
Yeah, Sloan. What was Sloan's song? I saw
Money
them.
City Maniacs is a big one. I mean, it's sort of 4 solo artists who share a band name umbrella.
Wow.
Their concept is, how when the Beatles got to the White Album, John and Paul and George were working so separately.
Yep.
Their thing is sort of, they're making the White Album as if Ringo was also a big writer, singer. So it's 4 guys, and on a 12-song record, you get 3 songs, you write it, you sing it, you play all the instruments, and you have final say on the production and the mixing. And then when they each do their 3, they get in a room and sequence it together, talk about the artwork together, and start learning each other's shit to go on the road.
Wow.
And they really just carved out that real estate for each other. And they cross all the royalties on all 4 songs, so it doesn't matter whose gets in a commercial
That's
or whatever.
dope.
Yeah. It's kept them together a really, really long time.
Now you guys fucking toured with the Strokes, which is one of my favorite bands.
Right when the first record was hitting.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So that had to be fucking just fire because to me,
Yeah, it was, yeah.
I felt like the Strokes were the new GNR. Because we
Yeah.
had Guns N' Roses, and then after that, you don't ever see leather jackets and Les Pauls and shit.
Totally. Kind of dangerous.
Drugs.
It was palpable, man. I can't lie. It was like they were fucking running off stage. They had one record and they had no B-sides and they had no covers and they hadn't written anything for the second record yet. They couldn't do an encore. The fuckers had 10 songs.
Like 32 minutes or something.
I remember the front of house guy was mixing on 10 channels.
Yeah.
So there's no keyboard, there's no background vocals, there's no DI instruments. We don't double mic every drum. He had he could mix a show with one hand, and they'd basically power through 10 songs. Julian wouldn't say much.
Yeah.
They'd run off to their bus and then just partying until the next one. Yeah,
They were so fucking cool.
Yeah, they were really good. They were really good. The
They-
light show.
And Julian was just a god.
Yeah, he was great. He was great.
That's got to be weird. It's kind of like Strokes were kind of rich kids, and then you guys are kind of rich kids, right? You guys are out on tour, like we're stars out here, man. Like that's so, like man, that's
No, we were just learning how to do it. Like we didn't. It was our second tour. Our record wasn't out yet. We were doing tons of meet and greets, passing out samplers, CD samplers, And those guys, it was fucking intimidating, man. They peer pressured our bass player into drinking so much one night. I think he had alcohol poisoning for 2 days. We almost canceled the gig.
wow, wow. They were the real deal.
Yeah, they were going for
now.
it.
Were you guys doing drugs too?
So really, pretty much a clean band for a long time at first. I think the boredom of the road and the mythology of the lifestyle and the culture seeped in eventually, and I think drinking kind of ramped up over the course of the touring. But this is also what kind of pulled the whole thing apart was a confused image. Things started skewing very young on the second record. And one could argue, well, young girls buying concert tickets and records, isn't that a good thing? But we're not talking about young girls. We're talking about like children, like their parents.
Now
are
that's the
bringing them.
curse of the OC, right?
Didn't start immediately after that. 'Cause
But
that
when
show was
I
like a
saw
teenage-
you guys on the OC, I was like, this is kind of like, man, this is like, I thought it was fake,
Right.
And I never saw the OC or anything, but they were almost making it like you guys were this band from the OC,
Right.
And it was just kind of like, I don't know if that's good.
Well, right. Well, it was a risk, but after that, so many bands that got way, way bigger than us had OC moments, like Death Cab for Cutie or what's that one?
They were on that show too?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
God, the Shins.
The Shins
got huge from the OC, and these bands now, play the Greek and the Hollywood Bowl, and we never quite got there. But it wasn't the OC. I think it was more the second record. It just started skewing really young, and it's our singer's identity too. He had a very childlike way. He had a very clean image, everything from lyric writing to interviews to stage banter. He's just like got a little too kid friendly, and the famous line that our drummer said, who's a hilarious guy who's now in the tribute band with me, is our meet and greets. He said, "I'm feeling like a mall Santa." It didn't feel too cool to be out there, and it just kind of pulled things apart. It's like, so one could say, well, you're not fucking Sabbath. You're not the Stones. You're not a dark, menacing, heavy rock act. Embrace what you are. It's like, well, we're also not like the Osmonds. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
what was the key problem on that? Was the singer was guiding it into a like just a family friendly band? I mean, because you guys are out with the Strokes and fucking, and who else were you out with?
But dude, that 180'd on the second record.
Right. Why was that? Because of him?
We opened for Kelly Clarkson. We opened for the Jonas Brothers. We opened for Fergie.
Terrible. So you know what's funny? Now I realize why I never even knew you had a second record. Because you disappeared into that fucking world.
You know why? Because we were number one in Germany, so we never came the fuck back to the States. We just kept touring the shit out of Europe because they never knew we had a first record.
Unbelievable.
It drove Jimmy Iovine crazy. He said, how can this band be doing so well in the second biggest English-speaking market in Germany, and we can't get on the fucking radio here? I think I'm done with these guys. I don't know if we can do it.
You guys were that Knight Rider dude. What's his name? Yeah. David Hasselhoff. Yeah, right. You guys were the Hasselhoffs of rock.
Yeah. Totally.
That is insane.
So, I mean, Kelly Clarkson, that was the least of our sins. When I look back on that tour, she was trying to break out of her pop image, and she's doing this like barefoot Janis Joplin thing, covering Zeppelin tunes and Heart tunes and wailing, and her guitar player's got 2 orange stacks. That was the most rock tour of that second record cycle.
Wow, Jonas Brothers.
Yeah, dude.
How do you go from touring with the Strokes and fucking, and Sloan and all that to like the next record, because Blue Side was a mild hit.
Yeah. I think that on the first record, we tried to play things cool and not go for the jugular. There are probably 4 or 5 more commercially appealing songs than Blue Side on that record that could have been the first single.
I believe it, man. Stay Away. That song is fantastic.
So it was deliberate to go with Blue Side because it was like an identity piece.
Yeah. It's rock.
Yeah, it was more of an introduction to the guitars, the harmonies, the keyboards, the influences. It was a sort of a statement of intent, like a band manifesto, and not, here's our catchiest song that we think DJs will play the most.
Yeah.
And I think on the second record was so hard to make. We remade it 3 times with 3 producers.
What?
And had lost so much momentum that at that point, the stakes were higher. Who
were the producers? So you come off the road on the first record, and now you're ready to do the second record.
We're like, we really want it. And certain little nuggets of maybe it's getting too poppy had crept in, like the OC. So we're listening to like fucking Yardbirds and like real garagey, bluesy 60s shit. And we found Tony Hoffer, who'd done Air, Beck, Supergrass.
Sick.
Yeah, and we said we're going to make this record on tape. No click track, no auto-tune, and our lead singer is not going to play rhythm guitar. Single guitar, pan, 1 speaker. Keyboard player is just going to have a Vox Continental organ, pan the other speaker.
Badass.
In theory.
Yeah.
Fucking plane crashing in the mountain.
It just sound like a bad demo.
Totally.
Yeah.
Sound like shit.
Just especially coming off how big your first record sounds. Your first record sounds big,
right.
Meaning... There's a lot of fucking musical landscape on that record.
There's a pop sheen to it.
Yeah.
It's like you're not trying to undersell it. You're letting the hooks be right out there. So, yeah, we go in with Tony. Great guy. Had a great experience. Did it at Sunset Sound. Oasis had like just been there. A great Chicago band called the Red Walls, who've since broken up, who we had toured with. We're making a record in the next room over with Rob Schnapt, who's a great producer. And it was a fun time to be, but I think the rules of the record were more were like sexier than the music we were making. He was like, dude, we're making this record at Sunset Sound with no click on tape, with no auto-tune. It's like, that doesn't make it good. That just means you're got handcuffs on in terms of the technology.
Yeah.
Like, big whoop. It's like being Amish or something. Like, great, so we don't use fucking, light bulbs.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Record sounds like shit, you know?
Well, I was talking about that yesterday with somebody on the show where I was saying, I go into the studio and there's all the equipment and there's all the, we got the songs and everything. And this is where such and such was made and this was made and that was made. And then you hear your stuff and you go, well, it doesn't sound like that.
I heard you say that. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So we turned the record to the record company around the holidays one year, and they said, if this is what you want to do, you might as well change the name of the band. And we really respect you guys, and if you want to put this out, I guess we will, but we're scratching our heads over here. We've listened to it 5-6 times, and we're trying to like it. And they
change your name. Hilarious.
Yeah,
after
unrecognizable.
millions of dollars, and the first record did okay. What did the first record sell?
Just shy of gold.
Fuck. So I mean,
Napster hits, and sales drop steeply off the cliff right as we're approaching gold.
Wow. That's amazing to hear. That's amazing to hear.
It was every, I think, Wednesday, you get the sound scan, the tour bus crowd around the front lounge, our tour manager's laptop. Management sent the sound scan. Great, we sold 8,000. Oh, OC sold 10,000. Back to 8,000. We sold 4,000. Maybe it was a weird week. Next week, sold 2,000. Half and then half again next week. Sold 400 records. What the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's this new shit started in college dorms, LimeWire, whatever. Music's free now. It's over. That gold record ain't coming.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And as you walked in, I was playing Metallica and Justice for All. And I still, to this day, and I've said it over and over, 270 fucking episodes. Lars, they think he's the devil and all this.
Yeah, he's been vilified for what he said, but he looked like a dork, but he turned out to be on the right side of it.
He was 100% right.
Yeah.
And no one ever says you're right. And people now think that music is free.
Right.
They do not ever buy it. I buy all my music in here, everything in here. I've never got free shit. And everyone thinks that music's free.
You can't put the fucking genie back in the bottle, though.
Right.
You know? I mean, maybe you can if a kid stole something from the mall, their parents say, dude, you got to take that back. You can't steal.
Yeah.
But if they're down the hall stealing on their computer, it's not thought of like that.
It's unbelievable. And the only thing that ever came out of that good for me was I started comedy. Because then my music days were over. You know what I mean? Because I always say it. I'd be at a gig after the show and go, hey, you want to buy the CD? And they go, oh, no, our friend burned it for us. We love it. Thanks.
Right. Yeah, so we used to hear shit like, man, if you sold 400,000 records, that means probably 5 million people have it. So that's good because 5 million people are listening to you. Well, I guess, it's cool.
Yeah, who's that good for?
Yeah, it'll drive sales to the live show. All right, I don't know. Show me the math on that. I don't know that happened,
Yeah.
So then we turn in the fucking 60s garage rock demo, unrecognizable album. And then we changed management at that point, too. And they said, why don't you take a month, the holidays, and in the new year, come back and tell us that you would die for this record and you insist that we release it. So everyone goes, tail between our legs. Played it for my girlfriend, played it for my other musician friends, played it for my family. Like, everyone's scratching their heads about this record. I think we fucked up. So we tell the label, it's all right, don't put it out. Let's try again. Yeah. And then they said, all right, well, you got to pick your producer. Now we get to pick ours. Howard Benson, who did all the shit that I mentioned, the fucking Hooba stank, all that just, little K-Rock shit logs. That's what he was squirting out over there at his place.
Oh, man.
It was a good record-making learning experience because they're so formulaic.
Yeah.
There was it gave me studio guitar training that I think could be useful as a session player. Yeah. And there are times if somebody asks me to play on something where I can tap into that a little bit because it was really just a formula.
What was the formula? Because I don't really know that music very much, but I know that basically it would just be kind of like
Post Nirvana, clean verse, distorted chorus,
Right.
stack up 6 pairs of guitars,
Yeah.
left and right, always the same. No Beatles 60s, like, whoa, what's that over there? It's
Yeah.
always, we're doubling and then we're quadrupling.
just
everything's
gung, 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 gung,
Yeah, oh yeah.
gung, you
Eighth
know?
notes, chung, 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 chung,
Yeah,
chung,
yeah.
chung, chung. Okay, we do that with the SG through the Vox, we double it. Then let's put it on with the Les Paul through the Plexis, double it. Then let's
Yeah.
put it on with the Strat through the Twin, double it. And you're just,
Yeah.
you know, they had a system, and it was what it was. And we turned that record in, and that's when it was like, yikes, dude. The record we made with Tony Hoffer wasn't right, but this one might not be right either. You know?
Oh, man, I love this story.
And it was like, and how long are we going to spend away? Because the first record had done well. So we'd book little tours. Like, why don't we just do 2 weeks West Coast, play some of the new material out, stuff like that. And then around this time, a guy named John Fields emailed somebody at the publishing company. And John says, I'm like a Todd Rundgren, Cheap Trick, Cars fucking guy. Cool fucking good guitar shit, 3-part harmony, synths, cool dry drums. Let's get out of this like weird dated production style and like what's going on with this band. I love their first record. They haven't come out a new one for close to 3 years now.
Fuck.
Let me do a song on spec. I get where these guys are coming from. I think I could mentor them. And this guy became a huge personal mentor of mine. It's how I got into producing and engineering and built my studio. And he was so fast. A Pro Tools wizard. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody who can edit music and fly things around and work EQ and effects and delays.
Yeah.
Second nature.
That's like Jakir King, you know?
Yeah, right.
He did my record. He did this, the Kings of Leon, you know?
Right.
And this guy, same thing. I work with another guy that's smoking weed that takes 5 minutes to do a fucking vocal edit. And then you get Jakir King in there. He's just like, click, click, click. All right, let's go. Do it again.
John, the criticism on John is that he's too fast, and he knows that, and everyone says that to him.
Yeah.
You know, he came from Minneapolis, you know, the Prince scene and Soul Asylum, who he produced a bunch of their shit. Played bass for them when their bass player passed away.
Wow.
The Rembrandts.
Oh, the Rembrandts.
Semisonic.
Yeah.
He was part of that whole scene. His uncle had produced Funky Town.
Wow.
And he was out here, and he was like a solidly booked alt-rock producer. Wasn't a superstar yet. This is how we get to the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah.
They heard our record that he did, and they wanted to work with him, and then he became the go-to Disney guy. Had a string of 5-7 years of pop hits.
Just making mansions on the hill money.
Printing it.
Fuck yeah.
So we go over to John's, and we tell him our whole story. It's, I don't go backwards. I don't want to hear the demo. I don't want to hear version A, B, C, D. Play me something you just wrote. You have a new song? Any new song. And our singer plays him a new song. He goes, just do that to a click track. Just guitar and vocal to a click track. And then he puts a little bass and little keyboards on it. And then he goes, get the other guys to do the harmonies. Ned and I, the drummer, we go and we sing all the harmonies. And he goes, all right, let's book one studio day. Rent a good drum kit, get the mics, get the rest of your band in here, and flesh it out. So we had finished vocals.
Yeah.
But we didn't have like the real drum
Just over a quick track.
He had a little kit with like a couple mics on it, but he was like, I'm going to put my name on this. I'm doing it on spec, and we're going to submit it to your record company. Let's do it full on. So we went somewhere. What's the studio like on Cahuenga Pass near the Baked Potato?
Oh yeah, yeah.
We go in there. We do our drums, bass, guitars, and he mixes it in a day. And we sent it to the head of International at Interscope. We bypassed our A&R guy and our president, bypassed Jordan, Jimmy. This guy had never worked a domestic record. He was all foreign. We sent it to him. He goes, I heard your first attempt with Tony Hoffer and your second attempt with Howard Benson. I was really confused. This sounds like fucking next level Rooney. Who did this? We said, John Fields. And he said, well, I'm not supposed to even be talking to you guys because I don't work the domestic shit, but if I could cobble a little budget together, maybe you do 3 or 4 more songs with John Fields.
Now, why do you bypass the other guys? Have they given up on you?
Like, we're playing fucking mean guitar tones, and we're a good live band, but it's like Jellyfish thing. Like, they just heard, like, you know, I don't know, something was reading kind of lightweight to them
Right.
compared to those bands, which, by the way, fucking under the surface of those guitars is the most lightweight shit ever.
Yeah.
Blow it away with a feather. What's really going on in a puddle of mud song? You know? Something
yeah,
heavy about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because at the end of the day, it's just all about a song.
Yeah.
And whatever kind of fucking camouflage you put on it is usually has to do with the century or the time
you live in.
Yeah.
And I've gotten much more open-minded about that. I think when you're late teens, early 20s, you have your like stylistic boundaries of like, this is my shit, and then this is outside of it, and that's not what I'm into, you know? But I think as I've like heard more music and just opened my mind, I think that it's not a genre thing as much as it is like there's going to be a great metal band just as much as there's going to be a terrible metal band, and that'll go for funk and R&B and pop and jazz and reggae and anything under the sun, So people who are, I don't know, it's what you said, it's a song and the camouflage, but the camouflage is important because it's how you dress it up. It's the delivery. Yeah,
it's the delivery.
It's how you introduce yourself.
It's like if you walk out to a Ferrari and I didn't tell you that it had a fucking Hyundai motor in it.
Right.
You'd just be like, oh, this is a Ferrari.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you start driving and you go, this sucks.
Right. Like my little brother who's about to get a PhD, published 14 times. My folks and I are always on his ass because he's like in his fucking Tiva sandals and he hasn't bought a pair of pants since he was a freshman and fucking, and everyone's saying, you're going into these high level meetings, man, at fucking Yale and shit. You're giving presentations. Like, it's not shallow or beneath you. It's important. It's how you introduce yourself. Like, if you want to be the mountain guy with the beard, at least fucking shave up the neck a little bit. Yeah. So it's a fucking, and he's just into, dude, I'm working so hard. I'm reading so much. I'm writing so much. I'm doing so much good for the world. I'm about to get a PhD. Fuck my neck hair. How fucking shallow can you be?
Yeah.
And we're saying, dude, it's only going to help you to come in looking like you thought about how you're presenting the thing. So that's why record production is important, because this is the moment. This is the time we live in. This is the style. Are they playing, is it Jack White with funky pawn shop off-brand Italian guitars, or is it a classic Sunburst Les Paul, Totally. Each of those things makes a statement that registers to the person who's watching it.
Well, it's all image. It's all fucking, it's sight, it's sounds, and it's a look. It's a look as much as, The
identity got very, very muddled in this whole process. So we did eventually get to make a whole record with John Fields and put it out and have a great, great run in Germany, Holland, France, Italy, England. Didn't do as well in the States. And then things came apart internally, and we crawled through a third record that we self-produced, formed our own label, put it out through Warner's.
You get dropped from Interscope?
They essentially, but then our lawyer found a clause in it where they had to pay us for the third record either way.
Yeah.
They said we know you don't want to tour the Jonas Brothers, but we'll give you some money if you do. And then they wanted to renegotiate to a 360 deal.
Oh, God, the worst.
Yeah, but they offered such a huge amount of money, and we knew we were about to get dropped anyway, so we took it. And then they had to pay us to leave. I think we got paid like 3 times to leave.
Yeah.
So everybody...
Big label, see you later.
Yeah, exactly. I talked to a music lawyer not long ago about some of my new shit, and he said, let me take a guess. 2 best days of your career in Rooney. You get the call that Geffen's going to sign you. Second best day, you get the call that Geffen's going to drop you. And he's spot on.
Yeah.
So we parted ways, and it was not on the best of terms. But I'd bought a house in Los Feliz with a big garage, and I converted it to a studio, and I started just really making the most of my gear collection that I had amassed. And
you got a lot of vintage gear?
I do. Yeah.
What do you collect? Guitars and amps, or what?
Yep, guitars, amps, pedals, drums.
Yeah, drums.
Yeah. All of it, man. You know,
What do you got for guitars?
Well, in the early Rooney run, I had a deal with the Gibson Custom Shop where they'd give really, really good deals. So I have, you know, an R8, which is a 58 burst reissue.
Yeah.
My main one that I went around the world with a couple times was the TV Yellow Special.
Sick.
Single cut, 2 P90s.
Love it.
I've got an SG that's got the big Vibrola guard. Let's see. I had a Firebird I sold. I've sold a Gretsch, a Rickenbacker, and a Firebird. I got a really good Strat. I've got an ES330 hollow body 2P90, 65.
Yeah, like the Casino Epiphone,
exactly,
like the Beatles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was my first serious guitar when we got signed. I went to a producer friend, another mentor character, Tony Berg, and I said, what's like, you know, the early Beatles shit, they're up there with Gretches and Rickenbackers, but when you get into like Revolver and Peppers and like when they start getting heavy, like what is that, man? That mid to late Beatles, like Abbey Road, like it's not an underrated record. It's one of the most famous records ever, but I think it's an underrated guitar record.
Yeah.
Like, she came in through the bathroom window.
Yeah, totally.
All that shit is so awesome. The licks in the end. So that's the tone that I think is what I identify with and what's going to work for my band. He said, go see Norm Harris, Norm's Rare Guitars in the Valley.
Yep.
And get a mid-60s. It doesn't matter if it's a 330 or a Casino.
I like the
guitar.
Casino.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, the only problem with those guitars is most of them, the necks are puny.
Yeah.
They're too narrow.
Yeah.
They're like these, like the 60s guitars. I never liked the necks. They were so skinny compared to the 58, 59 are baseball
bats. My 58 burst reissue is a full fucking tree trunk,
baseball
dude.
bat.
Baseball bat, huge. I love that. The 330, it is a compromise. It's not, I don't play it on stage. It's a studio thing, but that tone, man.
You still got your house, huh?
Yeah.
That's amazing because that thing's got to be worth paper now.
It went up a bit, yeah. So I was able to build a studio, and I had a bunch of people coming and going in there. You know, we've talked about maybe trying to like a musician or a guitar podcast and like that. And then I slowly did a solo record, and I had another project actually called Taylor Locke and the Roughs in between. Did a solo record, came out on a cool label in England, really kind of folky and a depressed kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the drummer from Rooney and I mean, we're just like this conversation we're having now is he and I every day, you know. It's like you and Marin talking about, like, the first I found out about you is when he had you over when he got to call Jagger.
Oh, that's sick.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I still
Unreal.
worship Mark for calling me to let me be part of that. You know what I mean? It was just so weird. He's like, hey, I'm going to interview Jagger today. You want to come over and be in on that? I was on my bike so fast at his house, like, wow.
Yeah.
You know?
So he and I had seen a Beatle tribute, not the Jimmy Vivino one of the like Wigs ones out at Canyon Club in Agora. I think we smoked the right amount of weed and the right amount of alcohol. It's like, Jesus Christ, they fucking floor us. They have a fake Ed Sullivan who comes out, costumes change, the backdrop changes, the sound guy is a part of the show. He's nailing every delay flying around on fucking Day in the Life. It's like, dude, tribute bands, like, it's great entertainment, you know?
Yeah.
And then the second one that blew my mind was Queen Nation. They got a Freddie named Gregory Finsley, who's a chef at Cordon Bleu Academy, and this is his fucking other job.
Wow.
And he will give you chills if you're a Freddie fan. If you're not a Freddie fan, whatever.
That's crazy. And, you know, like the Pink Floyd one, the Australian Pink Floyd,
I know.
You know.
So Ned and I were joking about it. What would we do if we...
Now, you're talking about also, we want to say, you're not a cover band. It's a full-blown tribute where you wear the outfits and
we've
everything.
even expanded on that to the point where there's like scenes, you know, there's banter. It's very comedic. It's a big time comedy show, improv. Like, it's a lot, you know, we kind of took a big page out of Metal School's book. Like, you know, Satchel, that whole character is like, man, when I first saw him, like, to be playing guitar that well and be that funny, like, I'm going to find something I can do like that one day.
Right.
And, you know, Ned and I used to just like on the back of the tour bus, like, what do we do after this band? Maybe tribute band is actually some good business. We thought, who we do?
How about that? You're on a Rooney tour and you're thinking about how hey, we got to get in a tribute band.
I swear to God.
Well, the funny thing is your second Rooney record was probably a tribute to Rooney.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's nowhere near what the first one, you know?
We say it all the time. We're out there. We didn't write the songs in Rooney, the singer did. So it's like, fucking, I like this music more anyway, and we're getting paid more and having more fun.
Yeah.
But we had to keep that culture alive because he and I, like, the whole things, the buses, the hotels, the sound check, the catering, the passes. It's like the shit I was saying about my brother calling me to talk about which buses Joe Walsh had. We were so into the minutia and the details and just like the fun of all that shit that we had to somehow keep that going. But I mean, but get rid of the part where you're going into meetings at a label where you feel like you have to take a Xanax because who knows what these motherfuckers are going to say.
Yeah.
It's going to affect your career for the next 6 months or a year or forever.
Just fucking, you know? Like I say, as soon as you throw Suits into the mix, it's just gross. So
I told Ned, I said, you can play Mick Fleetwood, man. You're tall, thin, plays that style of drumming. He has acting, improv, comedy chops. I said, we'll find some people to put it together, you know. We got to find a Lindsay. He's like, you're the Lindsay. I'm like, dude, I play with a pick. It ain't going to happen. He's got a different shape, face, even with a wig. I'm not a Lindsay guy. He goes, you'll sort it out. And I'd never done any acting or improv, but for 6 months, YouTube K-hole, I need to learn how to talk like this guy, sing like this guy. I need to figure out every dorky, weird, egotistical thing he's ever said in an interview, and I need to get the fuck rid of the pick and learn how to finger
You're
pick.
Lindsey Buckingham?
Yeah.
Right. That guy kills.
Grew a beard, got a white tux and an afro wig, and I would just record myself talking like him.
What era of Fleetwood Mac?
We started doing just 70s right when Stevie and Lindsay joined.
Yep.
And now we do an intermission, costume and wig change. We do 80s too.
And you got a woman in the band?
Yeah, so Ned and I started. We pulled in a guy who'd played bass for Ben Lee when we had toured with Ben Lee, an Australian singer-songwriter. His name's Nick Johns. He produces, engineers. He plays every instrument in the world. Record collector guy. Just like the guy you want if you're like, who fucking engineered the keyboard overdub on whatever? Like, he's that guy. Liner notes guy, knows everything. Pulled him in to play John McVie because he wasn't gonna get into all the song and dance acting bullshit. He just wanted to hold it the fuck down. Put him in the jean shorts and the wig and don't talk to him, you know. And he plays the shit out of those bass parts. And we were friends with Joe Walsh's daughter, Lucy Walsh.
Wow. We
said, would you ever want to play Christine McVie? Because she's a piano player and a singer. And she said, yeah, and I got a roommate who looks like Stevie Nicks and sings. So they show up. Lucy Walsh, bless her heart, good friend of mine, she wasn't cut out for this. She doesn't care about that old stuff. That's her dad's era. If Joe Walsh is your dad, fuck Fleetwood Mac, fuck the Eagles. She's not interested.
Yeah.
And she didn't care about the accent or the comedy. But that day we got our Stevie because she brought her with her.
Yeah.
And her name's Jessica Miller. She acts, sings, does her own music, original stuff, and she's worked at the Chateau Marmont for ages, and she has become the world premiere Stevie Nicks impersonator.
Wow, that's crazy.
So we were on the hunt for our Christine, and now we got a great one named Rebecca Fishman, and we have several understudies. We have 3 other women who fill in because our Christine has a very good wedding photography business, and we combine Ned and I's like love of like the road and performing, getting out there, and then this really, really detailed, hyper-specific, comedic, dramatic presentation. And I just sounded like Lindsay Winston. Presentation. That's how he talks.
Yeah.
And, you know, other tribute bands, when we started hitting like festivals, they're like, you introduce yourself as the character names? Like, yeah, man. That's the whole fun of it.
Yeah,
Because they'd be out there be like, hey, I'm Jeff from Orange County. I want to thank James Hetfield from Metallica for giving me this persona to play. No, fuck that. I go up there, I'm Lindsay.
Yeah,
you know? We never break character.
That's fucking great. You guys are fucking, you're like Sean Penn when he's in fucking Spicoli.
Totally.
You got to call him Spicoli.
Totally. And the show just kept expanding and expanding to new comedic things. And then when I knew I had to fucking call you, this is a good segue here, to talk. We got a cold call on Facebook, a promoter in Newfoundland, Canada. It's a fucking island, northern eastern tip. And he says a tribute promoter. And he's got an offer for us to do 8 performing arts center, like 1,000-seat theaters across the province.
Yeah.
and they do transportation, backline, hotels, flights, and really good pay. And they're pretty sure they can sell out 8 of these fucking rooms.
Holy shit.
So we go up there, and Ned and I, we'd been everywhere in Rooney except fucking Newfoundland.
Yeah.
And my friend Sloan in Toronto, they said, we've been there once. We played the Capitol. We got in and out in 24 hours. What are you going to do up there? They're like laughing at us like, oh, these fucking LA kids. Wait till you can't get, you can't get fucking cold brew coffee up. This culture is so, it's a whole other, it's hick, man. It's hick. So we go up there and unbelievable crowds. These people, this is all they've got to do, you know. The promoters and the theater staffs, every sound man, every lighting man, every stage manager, every person who put the catering out in the dressing room was more professional, more on top of it, and had a better attitude than almost anyone I'd seen at the height of Rooney's success.
Wow.
Because it's not a rock and roll concert, it's fucking theater. They look at it like you're putting on a play.
Wow.
Like they steam your costumes for you.
Wow.
5 people in the band, 5 dressing rooms.
Whoa.
You know? They can't have the guys and the ladies changing in the same room, you know?
No way.
So it was so well organized, and we had so much fun every night. And then about the second night of the tour, it's like, no one's ever going to see this. I'm in such a safe zone here. I'm so far away from any of my friends. In our intermission between 70s and 80s shows, I said, I'm gonna go out there and talk to the crowd right now.
Yeah.
And my bandmates know that I've been, going to the Comedy Store for 12 years, and I go out there and I said, as Lindsay, I'm going to give you guys a rare opportunity right now for industry insider Q&A with a multi-platinum recording artist. You can ask me, Lindsey Buckingham, anything about square footage of my home or my relationship with Stevie on and off stage. And they're fucking eating it up. And they're asking questions, and they have that... they're like, a lot of,
did you ever blow any coke up Stevie's butt?
All that shit. All that shit. And I've got a one-liner for everything.
Yeah.
And he said, well, how did you come up with your guitar style? And I named like 2 really backwoods regions of Newfoundland. I think it's a hybrid between a Corner Brook and Gander style of picking.
Hilarious.
Which is like, and so we kept doing that every night.
It's like the Mighty Wind, but with Fleetwood Mac.
Totally. It's exactly what it's like. We're huge Christopher Guest fans, of course. So at the end of this trip, my girlfriend and I had booked a vacation to Europe, and from fucking Newfoundland, it's like 5 hours to get there. So I'm going to meet her in Europe, but the way the flights worked out, we weren't sure if one show might get added at the end of the tour. I had an extra day, night, and a whole other day with a night flight after the band went home and the tour ended. So I'm in fucking St. John's, Newfoundland. It is so, like, I don't know anybody. I don't know any store. I've got this hotel room, and I must have walked 9 miles listening to your podcast that day, and I listened to the Mark Ford one, the Jimmy Vivino one, and the comedy shit, and the rock shit, and the guitars. I was like, I gotta fucking talk to this guy. I'm in fucking Newfoundland listening to him talking to Jimmy Vivino about P90 pickups.
Yeah.
I gotta tell him about this fucking tribute world, man.
It was funny, man, because when he hit me, when fucking Phil Sasan hit me, he said, yeah, he played in Rooney. And right away I was like, wait, was he the original guy? Because I don't want no third dude in here, you know what I mean? And he goes, no, original dude. And he dated TV stars and shit. And I was like, oh yeah, he's on. You know what I mean? Because I loved Rooney. And it was just such a weird timing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, fuck, I'm glad you did the show.
Yeah.
And it was, and thanks, you brought me a fucking David Bowie record, Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah, and I'll just briefly plug, I got a brand new group. This Instagram page is just up, not getting the follows we need yet, so we got to send people over to @The Great Indoors Music. And it's kind of like a psychedelic garage pop. It's hooks and harmonies, and with, just a more...
I'll put some of it, you gave me some, I'll put some on this episode.
Killer.
And we'll check it out at the end of the show, they can hear it.
Great.
That'd be great. And you guys going to be playing out live?
Yeah, Great Indoors are probably going to start playing like on the east side this fall, like Bootleg Theater, Satellite, the Hi-Hat.
Yeah.
And
got a guest house at your place for me?
Yeah.
I'm on that.
So you don't have to fucking motorcycle back. Yeah.
Fuck.
Come over. Well, we'll figure something out that we'll do something with the tribute band, like a Viper Room gig where you do a comedy set, you know?
Yeah, I'm in on that.
Because, I mean, it's a lot of fun. So there's it's a Rumors Tribute Show. Facebook page, Instagram page. My personal Instagram is Taylor Locke Music. And I'm producing records in my garage. Just got to...
That's fucking cool. I got to go to the studio.
Yeah, you got to. And we'll get Roger Manning on the show.
Yeah,
he'll
please.
do it in a heartbeat.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah. Oh, in a heartbeat he'll do it.
All right, we're on.
Yeah,
and I'll
great.
come to your studio this week, and then I can talk about it when I put this out.
Great.
Let's go
Awesome.
get some sushi.
Great. Thanks, Dean.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. See you later.